Okay, everybody. So this is the video for Lab 15, but with a PC. So normally I don't use a PC, but today I am. All right. So what are we doing? Well, we're doing Lab 15, which involves reading and writing files. And you should look at the video for week 15, lecture 1, if you want more detail, because this is going to go relatively quickly here. So what we need to do is just follow the instructions. So if we go open Eclipse, which is already open, and we create a new project. So we'll go File, New, Java Project. We'll call this Lab 15. No, not Lab 25, Lab 15. Lab 15. I do not like this keyboard. I do not like this trackpad. All right, Lab 15. So in Lab 15, we should be able to right click, do new, get a new class. We'll call this also Lab 15. If I can type, all the keys are in a different place. I can check the box for public static void main and click finish. And we get ourselves a blank project up here. Cool. So back here, what we need to do is we need these includes at the top. So in question 1 here, it says add these includes. So these are necessary if we are going to be reading files, sorry, writing files. So the output stream is for writing files, and the print writer gives us print line, printf, etc. So we add those at the top, move on to the next step. On the line where your main method is, we need a line that does this, that says throws IO exception. I guess it'll maybe be easier to copy here because how crappy this trackpad is. Control C, tab over here, and that goes right here. All right, so far so good. What's next? Now we're getting a file ready to write. And so there's some code here for this. We explained this all in the other video, the week 15 lab 1 video. There doesn't need to be these nulls here, but they shouldn't be hurting anything either. So you can leave them off. And you can see that what this is doing is it's setting up a file stream pointing at my out file, which is the file where our output's going to be. And then we create a print writer that in the new print writer part, it says file stream, which is the same as the variable on the previous line. So that gets our file ready for writing. What's next? Number 4 is nothing to do. This is just showing you that you could use print line, print, and printf. Okay, what we're actually doing is writing this to a file. So we're basically going to calculate some numbers and we're going to print them into a text file. That's it. So to get started, this table of numbers here starts out with this line that has X, Y, Z, and that's going to be the first thing that we need to write to the file. So I'll just copy that, and then over here, I can do a out fs dot println. And in quotes, I can just put that entire line there. That did not copy paste correctly, so we'll fix it. It also doesn't need a \n \r. So it could look like this. And I'll just go down here and I'll put also out fs dot close to close our file when we're done writing to it. And this is not the only thing that needs to be in our file, but this will allow us just to double check that, we're writing a file. So with just this much, what happens? If we go to run, it ran, but we don't see anything down here. And so we don't see anything down here because we printed to our file. And so if we want to see what we wrote, we have to find this file called my out file. And the whole reason I'm filming separate Mac and PC videos is because this might be in a slightly different place than it would on a Mac. So to find this file, if I click on my project over here, Lab 15, right click, and I go to properties, it brings up a box like this. and it says location. Yours might look slightly different. I'm in dark mode. Also, this is a version of Eclipse from the end of last year, so they may have moved things around slightly. But there, it should say location, and it will give you the location, but also there's a button here that I can click to show it in the System Explorer, which means, open a file manager. So I'll click that, and it opens Explorer, and then I can close this. I don't need it anymore. That was we just wanted to click that button. And so this folder that it opened here is just all of my projects. You can see that this list looks like this list. And so if we open Lab 15 and inside it, you can see that there is a file called my out file. That's the file that we just wrote. So I thought this was going to be in bin, but it's right here. We can see it. So cool. So it's actually not in a different place compared to Mac versus PC. Used to be. So if I open this up, I'm just trying to double click. It's failing. It's just a text file, and it just has that one line in it that we tried to write. Okay, so cool. We can close that. I guess we can close the rest of this too. Dang it, this should not be there. Oh, this is just faculty at the school. It's fine. Don't save. All right. So we now know where this file is because well, at least we know how to get to it. So the rest of what we need to do is calculate the numbers that we're supposed to be printing in this file. And so these numbers, if we look, are supposed to be a column for X, and the X numbers, it says down here, are supposed to go from negative 1.5 up to positive 1.5. And then we're supposed to calculate the sine of that value, and we're supposed to calculate the cosine of that value. So the way to do that, or a way to do that, is a for loop. So we could create doubles for X and for Y and for Z, and then we want a loop. So if we make a for loop, what our for loop can do is we can take that X value that we know is supposed to start at negative 1.5, and we can just set it to 1.5. And then we know that we're supposed to go from negative 1.5 up to positive 1.5, so we could put X less than or equal to positive 1.5. And then from over here in the table, we see we're going from negative 1.5 to negative 1.4. So we are counting up by 0.1s, right? So in this third spot for the for loop, you wouldn't put X plus plus because that would add 1. If we want to add 0.1 every time through the loop, the correct syntax would be plus equals 0.1. And there's a for loop. So what this for loop is going to do is it's going to make our X values for us. Now it's going to make the X values, but it's not going to make the Y values or the Z values. We want to make Y equal to sine X. So we'll have to calculate that. But you can't just do Y equals sine X like this because the sine function is inside of the math library. So it needs to be math.sine X. Similarly, for the Z value, which is supposed to be cosine, it's going to be math.cosine X. So now we've got an X value from our for loop, a Y value, and a Z value. And all we need to do is write that one line into our file. We only need to write one line because we're looping. So this is going to loop like 30 times and print the rest of the values. So each time through the loop, we only need to print one row. So how would we print the numbers? Well, we are printing it without FS. That's our way of printing to the file. And we don't want print line this time. I think we want print F this time so that we can control like the number of decimal places and so on. And so to get started here, I see that this first column of numbers is 1 decimal place, and the second column of numbers is 4 decimal places, and the third column of numbers is also 4 decimal places. So let's copy that. So in the quotes here, our first number could be percent 0 point, no, just percent point one F. That's one decimal place. Then maybe skip a couple spaces and put percent dot 4F for the second number, and then maybe skip a couple places and put percent dot 4F again. And we need a new line at the end of the line, so that would be typed with backslash n. Okay? And then after you close the quotes, we need to get our XYZ in here. So you do comma, X, comma, Y, comma, Z, like so. Save that, run it again, and then we go look for our folder, or sorry, our file again. So if you have Explorer still open, right, then I can just look in that file and I can see what it is. If you close this or something, or rather if you close this and you need it back, you'll probably have to, you can click on Lab 15, right click, properties, click the little arrow thingy, not arrow, it's like a door or something, I don't know. But it brings us up. We're not in our folder, so we have to click on Lab 15 and then we can find it, right? So I can also get rid of this window and our file is there. Now, when we do this, right, we look at our file, we see it's basically okay. The problems is the numbers don't quite line up, and we can fix that. So let's fix it. So the way I would fix these numbers, or the reason they're not fixed now, is because the negative sign is taking up a space. So if you look, like it's 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces for the negative numbers, and 1, 2, 3 spaces for the positive numbers. So the way we would make these line up is, instead of having them 4 spaces and 3 spaces, is we should just always reserve 4 spaces. And the way you do that over here is in the placeholder for the number. We know that the dot one means one decimal place, but you can actually put a 4 here. So it says percent 4.1, and the 4 will indicate that we want to reserve 4 spaces. So just adding that and running it again, and then we have to go look at our file again. Actually, we can just see right here that they're going to be lined up in the first column, but they're not going to be lined up in the later columns, and it's for the same reason. So if you open this up again, and we look now at these, we see that the negative numbers here in the second column take up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces, and the positive numbers take up 6. So we could fix those by reserving 7 spaces each for those two. So we save this, run it again. I can see that they're all lined up. We can open up the text file, and yeah, it looks pretty good. Now, as far as lining up the headings here, what we could do is either we could just add like an extra space here and here. That might line things up better with the heading. Does it? Yeah, it looks pretty good. Maybe the Z column should go over one more, or rather, maybe the top of the Z should move over to the left by one. It doesn't really matter, but maybe you want that, or maybe you want take away one there, add one there. I don't know. Um, but you can line it up as well as you feel like doing, I guess, is the punchline. I closed the folder on accident, so I'll have to open it up again. So properties, click the little button, open up lab 15. There it is. Um, Pretty good. It's fine. Seems fine. Um, no big deal. We could move over this by one if we want, but I'll call that done. I'll call that done. Now, After we do that, that was our practice writing a file. Now we need to read a file. So I'll kind of just put a comment here, read a file, save that. All right, let's look at the web browser so we can see the next thing we have to do. And all right, we did all this. We're up to 7. Actually, we're not quite up to 7 because it says add the file by cubic.txt to your Replit project. So up at the top here, there was a file that we could download. And so we should download that. Let's click the arrow. That's going somewhere. Um, where is that going? It's going to my regular, not documents folder. Let's go downloads folder, save it. Cool. So I just have this text file in my downloads folder. I'm going to leave it there actually. And let's continue on. So it says add these lines to the top of your Java file. So we have more includes. These are the includes that you need for reading a file. We have the ones for writing a file. Now to read a file, we need a scanner and we need file input stream. So we add those. What's next? This is the code that you need in order to set up a file for reading. So I'll come down here, put it down here. And so you need to create a file input stream, give it a name, scanner NFS. And here it says int file num. That's wrong. We need to get rid of that. Okay. That's not the variable we'll use. And then it says FIS equals new file input stream by cubic.txt. And so the what this recommended you did, or what this was written for, was if I open up this web browser again and we look at the Lab 15 folder, this folder where we had my out file saved, that's where you would need to put the bicubic file if you want to leave this line the way it is. So like I can go to downloads and I can take this file here and I can control C it, come back here and I can do control V. Maybe I did, but it didn't do it. I failed in my mission here. I really hate this trackpad and keyboard. Control C, back here. Control V. Okay. So you can put the bicubic file here and then leave this line alone. Even though I just showed you that, I'm actually gonna not do that. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna erase it, even though I just copied it there. Okay, so let's leave this the way it is. Go to the web browser, and it says using an appropriate loop, which we cover in the week 15 lecture, read the entire file line by line and output it to the console using system.out println. So this is covered in detail in the lecture, but once your file's open for reading, all we need to do is we use a while loop that has while NFS has next. That's going to loop as long as there's more of the file left to read. And what we want to do in here is we want to create a string. You could do this outside, it doesn't matter. And I'll just call it line. And we want to read a line of text from the file. So the file is being the scanner has the variable NFS. So to read it, it'd be NFS dot, and then we can use all of our scanner functions like next, next line, next double, next int, etc. And we're reading lines from the file. So I want NFS dot next line like that. So that will read a line of text and stick it in a variable called line. And then to dump it to the console, it'll be system.out like we've used a million times. And then just put line. After our while loop, we're done. So nfs.close to close the file when we're done reading it. Now, if I try to run this now, I should get an error. And you can see the error is bicubic text, the system cannot find the file specified. That's because I didn't put it in the right file a right folder. I did, but then I deleted it, right? So I wanted to show you how to do it without putting the file in the correct folder. So if I open up my not web browser, if I open up the File Explorer and I click on Downloads to navigate to my downloads, there's the bicubic.txt is also here. And so if I just right click on this file, I'm in Windows 11, so you may have something different here, but if I right click on this, I can see where it says copy as path. Copy as path will copy the location to the file. So you can do copy as path, and then I come over here, and instead of just bicubic.txt, I can do Control V here, and I get this. It's also added an extra, hold on, let me delete everything in here. So with just parentheses in here, if I do Control V, this is what it looks like. And I'll save that, but you'll notice that there's a error here, and it says invalid escape sequence. And so I mentioned this in the week 15 lecture video, but these backslashes are no good here because we know that backslashes are used for things like new lines. Like, for example, we used a backslash up here. And so they confuse Java. And so to make this path work, everywhere where there's a backslash, you need to type another one. So like two backslashes, two backslashes, two backslashes, two backslashes. And when you get all those in and I save it, you'll see that the little warning went away. And so this is where my file is currently saved. So if you put the full path here with appropriate backslashes and I run this, you'll see that we are actually spitting out this file. Now, this file here is just a text file from like a video game project thing. So like if you look inside it, well, you can see it right here. But if you open this up, it's just got some text and then a bunch of numbers. Like you could generate this kind of text file now, right? You know how to do it. Um, but it's just a text file. And we printed it out. So we've succeeded. So basically the reason I filmed this video for the Windows users was to show you how to get the path copied and in here and how to do the double backslashes everywhere to make that file work. Okay, so that's the entire lab. Come back here and it says you need to submit one Java file or two if you did the reading and writing in separate Java files. So you don't need to submit any text files, you just need the Java files. And that's it. So that's the end of this video, and I will talk to you guys later.